Alright fellas, here we are back in Pokemon Masters. We're going to look here at Lodge, Volo, and Gible. That was extremely quick of a sentence. At 6-star EX, level 150, 5 out of 5, yada yada, all that junk. I don't really do too many showcases of Lodge units. I guess I did do Skyla. I think Skyla was before Volo. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, Lodge Volo is pretty good, honestly. I don't think he continues to make, quote, no pun intended, groundbreaking free-to-play standards like Skyla did, because she was really good for what she was as a free-to-play Lodge character. I don't think Volo's in that same boat, but I definitely do think he's still quite strong, and definitely a good addition for any free ground roster. Definitely. He's got himself Bulldoze for main damage, which is a little bit annoying, but it does do something, I guess. It's a move in the game. X defense for buffing his defense. It is trainer move, which raises his crit by 2, attack by 4, and raises his evasion in sand, which he does have Sandstorm, so he is able to obviously set sand that way, right? Which is great for being partnered with other ground strikers, especially older ones like Cynthia, who do utilize sand a lot. They definitely did make this kit relatively similar to Cynthia for that very reason. Also, fucking duh. Hunter's Instinct here for 30% DPS multiplier whenever enemy speed is debuffed to the max. Sandblaster 5 for a 50% Sync Nuke multiplier. And of course in the grid here he's got some other stuff as well, such as the Sync Nodes, Furious Brawn for DPS. Shifting Sand and Soothing Sand, some pretty decent gauntlet abilities. Surging Sand for some easy DPS multipliers. Pocket Sand for some accuracy debuffs, which could be very nice. Sandstorm NPR, Berserker on Sandstorm as well. Trip Up on Bulldoze for faster speed debuffs. Slow Opponent Sync for another 30% nuke multiplier. Tough Sync 3 for another 30% nuke multiplier. And some other stuff like Sharp Entry 1, Healthy Healing, and all of that stuff, which could be pretty good for the gauntlet or just general purpose ability. Also, you can run Weather Warrior 3 on him, probably recommended considering most of his stuff is related to sand, but I just went with Critical Strike 2 to be a little bit more cost effective, though I'm not really hurting for deluxe cookies right now, so probably should change that out. It's fine. Either way, Volo is pretty solid. I mean, as stated, he's got a 50% nuke multiplier here. He's got the 30% multiplier from Slow Opponent Sync, 30% from Tough Sync. That means he's got 110% total nuke multipliers off of his 419 attack stat, which is pretty decent for free-to-play standards. Plus Crit Strike 2 / Weathered Warrior, depending on which one you run. Also not too bad either. And also a lot of DPS multipliers with Furious Brawn, Surging Sand, and Hunter's Instinct. So he can get some pretty solid DPS too, which is kind of mitigated by the fact that Bulldoze kind of sucks, but I mean, any ground stage he's going to clear, which is mostly what we're going to be looking at. You can definitely build some pretty decent teams for off-typing as well. Just kind of depends on your team composition, obviously. I didn't really want to go about doing all that. I wanted to look at Volo and really what most people are probably going to try to utilize them for, mostly ground weak stages and all of that. So I've got 2 stadium battles lined up, as well as the Raikou Legendary Arena Duo. So you can do a solo with that, by the way. That does exist. I'm good, though. Let's go ahead and hop into these battles, though I already recorded these like a week ago, honestly. Jeez. Here is a general free setup against Ground Weak Chantal. I'm pretty sure this one is going to be utilizing Volo's nuke, more so than his DPS. We do have Bugsy here for defense debuffing, attack maxing, and I think crit maxing as well, though yeah, for crit maxing too. And we've got Courtney for ground zone, obviously. Good thing about Volo is that he's able to set sand by himself, so you don't really need any supporting character like obviously Ingo or even someone like Silver or Paolo or whatever. Volo's pretty self-sufficient in setting his sand, which is probably one of the probably one of the few reasons on why he's pretty decent, being a free-to-play character setting sand, which of course we already do have in like the form of Ace Roll and whatnot, but also having Volo be able to do it is just, for one, another option, and for two, still useful. So here's this nuke. I'm pretty sure it's maxed out. I don't remember the grid. Again, I recorded these battles like a week ago. But yeah, that's the max nuke, Slow Opponent Sync, Tough Sync, and Sandblaster, right? So, yeah, first sync without having anything up like max defensive debuffs or having support EX or whatever else. It's pretty good, definitely, at least in my opinion. And then, yeah, we're gonna finish them off, no problem, right? even without having ground zone sand or whatever. Come on, they have 2% health. They're cooked. And yeah, goodbye. So definitely does kind of highlight the fact that Bulldoze is not really that strong of a DPS option, which, I mean, guess that's fair. He's a free-to-play unit and whatnot. Though I do kind of wish they would have given him something better. For one, Earthquake would have been nice, even if that would have been just a little bit too directly close to Cynthia. Or like a single target ground move. Like, I don't have any examples off the top of my head. Maybe like Drill Run or something. Maybe like 130 power single target ground move. That'd be kind of nice. He's a striker. He can handle the sides with a nuke for the most part. I don't know. That's my only real complaint, is that he utilizes Bulldoze, which of course he does have tough sync, so it does, you know, help out there. But you could have just given him trip up 9 or something on his DPS option. I don't see much of a problem there. Whatever. That's really my only complaint about Volo. But I mean, he still did fine, right? Under a relatively free-to-play setup, because Courtney is obviously the free-to-play ground zone setter, and then Bugsy is a free event unit, which he can just be. You can swap him like Sonya for a better effect, honestly. So yeah, keep that in mind. We are with a bit more of the conventional setup, where we've got Rika and Cynthia. You know, the pretty decent ground core, and probably what is going to be a pretty utilized team, you know, Cynthia and Volo. Who would have thought? Duh. Volo and Cynthia in their other pairs, you know, Togepi and Volo, doesn't really synergize extremely well with any other specific Cynthia ult, so I mean, at least we do have the Gible to do that, being a direct buff to Cynthia and Garchomp, because obviously he's self-sufficient, he's able to set sand, which is what Cynthia wants, and he's also applying more spread damage in the form of Bulldoze, so they do work relatively well together. Not like the best partners or anything, but there is some direct intention there, and to actually get the characters, or these two specifically, to work out. And obviously we're going to be using Cynthia's nuke. I mean, Cynthia's nuke is just superior. I'm pretty sure our offensive stat, even prior to Mega, is better than Volo's. It may be slightly worse, but it doesn't matter. She makes up for the fact that she has, pretty sure, better multipliers. I think. Haymaker. I think no. Yes. No. I have to think about that. I don't remember everything, but either way, her using her maybe potentially slightly weaker nuke it's already just better to have the better DPS from having the Mega Evolution, so that's mostly why I did it. Again, Volo is a pretty solid enabler for Sandstorm, so you don't have to use Ingo, which of course means you now have a slot open in your support to use Rika, right? So using Rika as your support, using Volo for setting sand, pretty decent ground core, right? Because they're both able to do good ground damage, and obviously, you know, you could replace Volo easily with like Variety Giovanni, but this is again a more free-to-play / budget setup, I guess. Ignore the fact that Rika exists. I already did a full free-to-play setup, right, man? All right. Just wanted to showcase Volo with Cynthia. I think that's fair enough. Obviously, Volo is easily replaceable, being a free unit. Again, Variety Giovanni, even like not a ground unit like Paulo or Neo Champion Silver. I am so used to calling Neo Champion Silver Sigma Suit Silver for no reason. But either way, point being, right, you can obviously utilize someone better for sand. Variety Giovanni, Neo Champion Silver, Paulo. But have to think about of other ground characters. But I mean, obviously there's better options than Volo, but Volo does work as an option. And honestly, depending on what buffs he gets, could be good for the Lucy Ultimate Battle. Hell, he may already be. I haven't checked the docs and whatnot, so I don't know. And here is our duo against Raikou. We're using Rachel as a support. This is definitely a possible solo, and it's definitely possible, or easier rather, if you change around Volo's grid. Stuff like Pocket Sand for one's pretty good, as well as some other things like buffing his evasion in Sand. That stuff is pretty good as well, but I just went with the pretty generic grid, mostly giving Volo his nuking multipliers, and I think giving him some DPS multipliers as well, because that's where more so that his stuff can really shine here in the Legendary Arena, where his DPS is not actually completely abhorrent. So I mean, that's good. We're able to use Rachel here for debuffing enemy special attack, which of course helps with team tanking. Speed buffs, because for one, flinching sucks, and for two, the Volo's not exactly the fastest unit in the bunch. Also, she's got good healing with her trainer move, as well as synchro healing on the trainer move, or sorry, the sync move, which is why I went for it over Volo's sync move, because we get good healing with it. Yeah, as explained clearly. And also sync cure, just in case the enemies were to, you know, paralyze, then Rachel can use her sync move for that. But yeah, Rachel carries the gauge pretty well with an X speed all NPR, which is pretty consistent, so that's nice. And it would be a little bit better if her trainer move had some MP, or some better NPR, but I mean, whatever. She does have Team Trash Tank, not, was it 2, 1, something like that? I forget. Either way, not too bad, I guess. And also she's pretty decent with her own tanking, having first aid 4 as well. So very, very solid bulk for herself and pretty decent for team bulk as well. Which is, of course, nice. Despite the fact that she can't buff her own offenses, debuffing enemy special attack is more than enough for the most part. And Volo does cover the damage pretty well here. Obviously, Raiku's main gimmicks is that it wants a weather on the last bar because it sets rain, and then it also wants speed debuffs because it gets powered up when its speed is raised. So Volo being able to debuff speed very fast as well with trip up 4 is very effective at just completely dismantling Raiku's main gimmicks and just dealing with it very well. Obviously, you still do have to worry about potentially a straight paralysis, or obviously worry about the crits and the spread damage and whatnot, but for the most part, you can handle Raiku's gimmicks without too much issue. And again, Volo does have some other things in the grid that can be better for this duo/solo, depending on what you want to do, such as obviously being able to buff Sand with Shifty Sands. Is that what it is? I forget the passive. Either way, buffing her evasion and Sand, debuffing enemy accuracy with Pocket Sand, and all of that stuff could be very, very good for doing some good solo. It's not like the hardest solo, I think, but it does require some pretty good investment. 6-star EX plus 10 grid energy, all of that would be quite quote-unquote necessary for that. But I mean, either way, it's not the worst thing in the world. Thankfully, because of the endurance, we're able to survive pretty easily through all of Raiku's stuff here, so we don't really have to worry that much. Even with all the attacks, Volo still got some pretty decent bulk. I mean, again, also enemy special attack is debuffed because of Rachel's Snarl. He's also got physical defense debuffs in case Raikou were to go for any physical attack. It does set rain back on on the bar again, but it doesn't matter. We KO them with the bulldoze. We still have the endurance in the back, so even if Raikou were to have brought us down to KO range, we would have survived because of the endurance. So, yeah. That was the duo. I mean, obviously, there's probably cheaper partners to use, potentially Eggmons, you know, some flinch luck, whatever, yada yada. But again, Gauntlet is not really my game mode. I just wanted to show that Volo is pretty capable of doing some pretty easy duos against specifically Raikou, though I'm pretty sure he'll be fine against some other legendary arenas as well in a duo context. You're always going to be able to find pretty decent usage out of pretty much any character for the most part. So, yeah. Anyway, that's my thoughts about Logic, Volo, and Gible. It's my showcase, I guess. I don't think the guy's going to be great off-type, especially compared to other, like, available options. But, I mean, that's mostly due to Bulldozes being really niche. Like, speed debuffs are not fantastic as is, and obviously Bulldoze is not a great damaging move. For Sand, there's so many better Sand options. Again, all the other ones mentioned. Even Cynthia with Dust Kicker is still a pretty applicable option as well. But I mean, still, at the very least, he's good for ground. Ground does need the help, because, you know, Clay and Hapu are your free options, and Naomi is limited free unit. So having another good ground option in the form of Volo, that's nice. Though we did get Lodgerika now, so if you did pull for Rika for ground buffing, you've also got another inherently good ground unit in the form of her. So it goes both ways, I guess. I don't know when I'm going to showcase Lodgerika. I know I'm very late for the Lodge Volo showcase, but I didn't get him until way after there was a Ground Week stage, so I had to wait for Ground Week Chantal to appear. Oh well, it's fine. And also I had to wait because I need video spacing and all of that. Well, whatever. I'll see you all later. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you think about Lodge Volo down in the comments below. Peace out. Yada yada. Bye. Sayonara. Bonjour. That's a greeting.